Hi, welcome to section 9.2, the area of a triangle. We are strictly going to be talking about area here, nothing else. This is much shorter than the last video. So what they're going to do is they're going to give you two sides of a triangle and the measure of the included angle. And we're going to talk more about that, what exactly that means in respects to the area of a triangle. Okay, so a little bit of background knowledge. We're going to talk about area of a triangle here. They always seem to use K for areas throughout pre-calc. I'm not really sure why. They just choose K to keep it maybe a standard letter. So we have three formulas here. Okay, they all do the exact same thing, except the letters, if you notice, A, B, B, C, A, C, and then C, A, B. All of the letters are different. Now, you don't really have to memorize all three of these, because once you know one, you'll know the others. So let's take a look at this first one here. Okay, it says you take 1/2 and you multiply by A and B, little a and little b. Okay, and you're then taking the sine of angle C. So if you notice, the two sides that come together, that's the angle that you use. So it's the angle in between the two sides that they choose. Okay, so let's go down to the second one down, this one. You're using little b and little c, and you're using the angle between them, which is angle A. If you notice, we're using angle A. All right, so in the third one, which is basically the same exact thing, we're using little a and little c, and the angle between them, which is angle B. So it has to be two sides that come together to form the angle. That's how you know which one you need to use. Okay, and this will make a little more sense when we actually do a couple of examples here. All right, so example 1 says, find the area of the following triangle. Now, they give you a little bit more information, but we do know we need to find K. They give you a little more information here than we need. So the two sides that they give us are A and C. Okay, now, you don't have to worry about these equations. We're just going to multiply 1/2 times A, which is 4, times 7. It does not matter which one you put first. It could be 7 times 4. And then now we're going to multiply it by the sine of our angle. Now, we have to choose the angle that we actually are looking for. Okay, so we have two choices here. We have 64 and 73. Now, we need to pick the one that is right in between the two sides. So our two sides come together, our 7 and our 4, so we need to use the 73 and not the 64. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. We're using the angle that is right in between the side, angle, and the side. Okay, so we're going to do the sine of angle 73 degrees. All right, so now this is basically a calculator problem. You don't have to do this by hand. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and we're going to type in 1/2 or 0.5 times 4 times 7 times the sine of angle 73. And I'm going to get an answer of 13.388. So K equals 13.388. I'm just going to round that to 0.39. And we're in centimeters, so remember, area is always squared. Okay, so 13.39 centimeters squared. Now, you have to make sure, though, that your mode, if you hit the mode button, which is right next to the blue button, you have to make sure that you are in degrees. Okay, you have to make sure you're in degrees, or else it will not work. Okay, if you're in radians, it'll give you a totally different answer. We're in degrees. All right, so that's example 1. Example 2. Example 2. It says the area of a triangle is triangle PQR is 15 centimeters squared. If P and Q are 10 centimeters, find the measure of angle R. Okay, so I'm going to write down the formula. It says we are dealing with triangle PQR, and it says we have P and Q, and we have the sine of angle R. Okay, so I'm just inputting the letters into my formula. You don't have to necessarily use A, B, and C. All right, so let's fill in what we know. It says the area of the triangle is 15 centimeters squared. Remember, K is area, so 15 equals 1/2 times P, which is 5, times Q, which is 10, times sine of angle R. We're trying to figure out what angle R is, so that's why they don't give you angle R. All right, so let's figure this out. So 15 equals 1/2 times 5 times 10. What's half of 10? Half of 10 is 5. So now I have 5 times 5. Okay, so 1/2 times 5 times 10 is 25. All right, so now what would I do in order to get sine by itself? I'd have to divide by 25, divide by 25. 25's cancel out, so I'm left with sine of r equals 15 divided by 25. 15 divided by 25. So I need to do this number on my calculator. So 15 divided by 25 equals 0.6. All right, so 0.6. Now, we are looking for r, not the sine of r. So on your calculator, the way you find angles is we have to use the second button. Okay, so we're dealing with sine, so you're going to hit second sine, and then whatever number you got on the left-hand side, 0.6. Close your parentheses, and that will give you your angle of 36.86. Always round to 2 decimal places. So we're going to do 36.87. 36.87. So angle R equals 36.87 degrees. And there is angle R. So you have to use the second button, which will look like, so after you hit the second button, it will look like sine inverse of 0.6. And this should give you your angle of 36.87 degrees. All right, let me make that decimal a little clearer. So 36.87 degrees. Okay, so that's example 2. Last example. It says example 3. Adjacent sides of a parallelogram have lengths of 12.5 centimeters and 8 centimeters, and the measure of the included angle is 40 degrees. Find the area of the parallelogram. Okay, so first thing we need to remember for parallelograms is opposite sides are parallel. Okay, so the top and the bottom are parallel, the left and the right are parallel. We should also know that whatever the top is, the bottom is equal to it, and whatever the left side is, the right side is equal to it. Okay, so that we need to know. So it tells us 2 measures. It says one of the sides is 12.5 and the other is 8. Okay, so let me get rid of some of this writing here. If one of the sides is 12.5, so I'm going to make that the longer of the 2 sides, the other side would then be 8. Okay, so then we also know that this is 8 and the bottom is 12.5. Now, the only area we know how to figure out so far is triangles. So if I cut this parallelogram in half, notice how many triangles do we have. We have one triangle on the top, and we have another triangle on the bottom. So we have 2 triangles. So if we figure out the area of one of them, we should be able to find the area of the other triangle. And then add them together, and that's your area of your whole parallelogram. Okay, now they give us another piece of information here. They tell us that the included angle between those 2 sides is 40 degrees. Okay, so that's going to help us here. So we have 40 degrees now. All right, so basically we have a side, an angle, and a side. And then we should be able to figure out the area of that top triangle there. So let's figure out what this is. K equals 1/2 times side 1 times side 2 times sine of the angle in between them, which is 40 degrees. And once again, our calculator will help us do this. So 0.5 times 8 times 12.5 times sine of 40 equals 32.139. So 32.14. So 32.14 centimeters squared. Okay, now that is not the area of the entire parallelogram. That's what we're trying to figure out, the area of the parallelogram. That's just the area of this triangle number 1. If triangle number 2 is the exact same thing, because if this top right angle is 40, the bottom left angle also has to be 40. That's another property you should have learned in geometry. Then the angles are going, or the areas are going to be the exact same. So what do I have to do to 32.14 to get the whole thing? Well, basically I just have to multiply by 2. Okay, and when I multiply by 2, that should give me the whole area. So I'm going to go back to my calculator. I'm going to multiply by 2, and I'm going to hit enter. So my final area is 64.278, so 64.28. 64.28 centimeters squared. Make sure that for every area problem, if they give you units, you need to make sure that you put the units down. Okay, so don't forget the units. So that's it. That's section 2 from chapter 9. Hopefully that's fairly easy for you. We will do more with this tomorrow. Have a good night, and I will see you again shortly.